Greetings, greetings, greetings. I'd like to say welcome everyone tuning in to the Back to Nature Africa, Back to Nature Organic Farms reality TV show. No, I'm just kidding. Welcome back to our channel. You always know I say not my channel, but our channel, because we are family, we are a community, we work together, we support each other, and I want to say thank you for the continued support. And for all those that are out there in the Back to Nature Africa YouTube land, we want to say don't hesitate to subscribe, comment, like, share. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, we have been working hard. We have been rocking and rolling. Drum roll. Well, no, I want to shout out African Traveler, shout out Mr. Watermeyer, because without those gentlemen, I don't think I'll be sitting here with this gentleman here, who I'm having such a beautiful, wonderful pleasure of having had a chance to interact with over the last week or so since we started connecting and making a little bit of content. Nonetheless, let me just contextualize this discussion here today. This discussion, sir, is going to be part of what we call the African Mind series. And so we've done the African Mind series, the African Mind of Watermeyer, the African Mind of Miss Trudy, the African Mind of the African Tigress, the African Mind of the African Traveler. So many that we've done the African Mind of. And here with us today, we are going to be delving into the African Mind of Go Black to Africa. My good brother, Mr. Nikomi.
Yes.
Greetings, sir. How are you doing today?
Greetings. I'm doing awesome. What about yourself?
Oh man, it's a beautiful day to be alive. You know, whenever we're surrounded by nature in this kind of tranquil, serene environment, I am in heaven, literally. So with that, but I am more blessed. I feel very fortunate to be sitting with you here today. And right before we delve into sort of the meat and potatoes, or for some of you know I'm a vegetarian, the tofu and potatoes, give us a little bit of assessment, sir, of your time period. I know you're leaving out, we're recording this on a Saturday, you're leaving on Monday. How has your time and reception been here in the wonderful country in the borders of what we would call Kenya and concentrated in Nairobi here? How has that experience been?
Wow.
First, I introduced you, sir.
Yeah.
Do you mind? Sometimes I may not give people the proper introduction, so please introduce us to yourself to the audience.
Okay, all right. For those who do not know me, I am referred to as Go Black, my YouTube channel. Yeah, Go Black to Africa. Yeah, my channel is Go Black to Africa. So I got into this here, I guess, 3 or 4 years ago. Traveling Africa, had so much footage that it was sitting around, and I knew that one day would come when I would actually share it with the world. And it happened last year, August time frame. So I thought long and hard about how would I be able to incorporate and be able to share this information and start this YouTube channel.
Okay.
All right. And so the thought came and I ran with it. But a little bit about me in itself, you know, I was born here in Africa, over in Tripoli, Libya, as a little small baby coming out of the womb of a mom. We were left out of the country or continent, and my dad, who was military, continued on his journey, and we traveled the world. So I lived in America 54 of my years in and out of the country.
Okay.
Not only because of my dad's travel, but because of my travels with the military in America for 20 years.
Yes.
So I've even traveled, doing 20 years in the United States Air Force. And then after retiring, I then continued on my journey to travel the globe.
The globe.
Yes. And then I came to a point in life where I wanted to rediscover my roots. And so that happened about 4 years ago, to where then once I got here to the continent, I was blown away.
Wow.
And I was amazed at what I thought I believed Africa to be was not.
Okay.
And so I went on a tour with a group, and I remember all of us talking about this is something we have to go back and share.
Okay.
So I made a
So
promise.
this was a new version of Africa now, in a sense, more recently that you said you had an opportunity to come after traveling the globe, after completing some of your professional commitments and things along those lines. When was this that you and the group came back to Africa, saw what was happening, and said this is something we need to share?
Yeah, I think it was 2016 or 17.
Okay.
I don't remember. I think it was almost the end of 2016. We came back, came over here on the tour, and like I said, a lot of us for the first time, I call it my second time because I was born in the continent, but being able to see, smell, touch, and to be able to connect with the people, I was blown away by what I found out to be really the truth. And so with that truth, once you find the truth of something, you are excited to share it with somebody else.
Correct.
And so I took all this footage on my journey around Ghana. It was my first trip that I had visited to Ghana. And then returned to go to Senegal and also to the Gambia. And then I continued on my journey to Egypt.
Interesting.
And so I had all this footage, and it was like I made a promise that I would share it with the world. And so the day came where I opened up the old chest and pulled out the old, dust off the old footage, and decided to go ahead and share it with the world. As we know today, my channel, Go Black to Africa.
So that was the genesis, the birth.
That was
of
the birth.
Go Black to Africa.
It was. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, thank you for sharing a little bit of this, of your journey. I think it's been an interesting journey of discovery.
Oh yeah.
Or let me say rediscovery, because you had the original roots in Libya, Tripoli in that sense, being born, but then having been off maybe the continent for 50 or so years, and then around 2016 returning, and it was an eye-opener, I think, to say the least.
Definitely was.
Okay, excellent. All right, so now you've been on this journey, you've spent some time in West Africa. I heard you mention Egypt, so the Nile Valley civilization, and getting a chance to see some of our ancestral inheritance.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Then I started to really pay attention when you started making your trek through East Africa.
Yes.
And I'm going to lead you here back to Kenya in a second here, but I think I'm getting a sense that there is a greater resonance in this part of the world. We love all Africa, but give me a little bit of insight. Why has sort of East Africa been at the forefront of maybe some of your vision and your focus, the efforts you're putting in right now, and how does it all compare? How do you sort of put it all together when we talk about Mama Africa and your experience, which is, by the way, a reflection of the diaspora's experience reconnecting with Mama Africa?
Yeah. My interest is all of Africa, the whole continent. Many people ask me, what are the best places I have been, and I try not to use the words best, favorites, and stuff like that. Each country has its own flavor, has its own culture, and but what I find interesting about East Africa is that it's really untapped, and not a lot of us coming from the Western world have planted themselves here. Now we do see and hear now there is this movement happening, and people are coming, and so Tanzania was I think one of the countries that people have been vlogging and sharing their stories over there, and now Kenya, thanks to those who are on the ground here, those like yourself and then African Tigers, African Traveler, with Mrs. Trudy, I guess she's from Kenya.
Absolutely.
That have put Kenya on the map. And so now that the story is told and people are gathering more information, how Kenya is, and how beautiful it is, and how busy it can be in Nairobi, how great the coastlines of Mombasa is, even sharing out to the mountains, Mount Kirinyaga.
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 There we go.
Because I don't want to say that British name that they gave it.
It's all good.
Yeah.
AKA Mount Kenya.
AKA Mount Kenya.
Yes.
So yes, being out here though, back to your initial question is, Kenya. I really am enjoying Kenya because Kenya, there again, has its own flavor. Now, I find Kenya to be probably more progressive than I would find in just the 3 countries I were over on the West.
Okay.
Most people say Ghana's progressive, and it is, but I am amazed at what's happening here when it comes to the transportation.
Okay.
The railways, the highways, these transportation things that are happening, which is connecting other parts of Africa. Whether please help me out with the highway that goes over to Ethiopia.
Oh yes, the Thika Superhighway, which we were on yesterday when we visited the farm.
Yes, yes. Able to travel over into more of the interlock countries like Uganda and Rwanda. These highways and things are very impressive because you may have some roads that go from one country to another.
Yes.
Where I've been to over on the West, but not to the level of wide open highways. That, 4 lanes, highways and stuff like that. So I was amazed at that here. The people itself as well, having a heart, having an openness to receive me coming in, who are very inviting. I was able to break bread at some people's houses, and also to just to have some conversations where some places, people are kind of giving you the eye, like, who are you, But yeah, so Kenya has been great. I've been here, I guess, almost 3 weeks in the total. First it was a week, and then came back and been here 2 weeks. Probably stretched just a couple days over 2 weeks.
Wow.
So
wow.
Yeah.
No, I think, and just even from getting a chance to see some of your experience in Kenya, I think this is where you and your wife and your daughter had a chance to rendezvous and come together. And we were at Uhuru Park that's not far from here.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, we're sitting in this beautiful place, which is the National Museum of Kenya, in what they'll call the Peace Park or Path right now. And I just want to shout out the entire National Museum team for creating, maintaining such a beautiful gem of nature right in the middle of the city.
Yeah.
But yes, you did mention that you have seen that some of the infrastructural development that's happening in Kenya. I think Kenya is trying to lay a model for other so-called, I don't like to use that word, but for reference sake, sub-Saharan countries of how to build up infrastructure, how to start to integrate the banking and financing. I'm sure you've used M-Pesa since you've been here, so how that works.
Yes.
And then you have all the skyscrapers, but yet you're able to drive 15, 30 minutes and start to see some lions and giraffes at the national park. It's right there. So it's an interesting blend of sort of nature with modern technology, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's something that other African countries are adopting in terms of the technology, mobile money transfers and things along those lines. And this is what's very important, that as African countries can be able to learn best practices from each particular country. We have things that we could learn here in East Africa of what they're doing really good in the West Africa or the southern part of Africa.
Yeah.
And that's why we're so happy even that the African Free Trade sort of agreement has come into place, because it will allow for greater leveraging of each other's strengths, compensation of each other's weaknesses, etc. So I was happy to see you bring the family here. I was happy to see, I think that was your wife's first time in Africa and your
First
daughter's?
time, yes.
Wow. And if you got a chance to go to his YouTube channel, GoBlack2, and that's with number 2, Africa, you have a chance to see some of the insights that your wife and they spoke pretty honestly and genuinely, authentically of what their experience was. And this is so very important, because one of the things that we're keen about, even here at Back to Nature Africa, being that our philosophy is the closer we are to nature, the more whole, happy, at peace, at ease we are. The further we get away from nature, we get into a state of dis-ease when we get into artificial, unreal, sort of fake news, fake living, the whole nine, right? So we advocate for more natural, holistic, organic lifestyles. So in that regards, we believe that the diaspora, people of African ancestry who have been spread out around the world outside the African continent, whether you're in Europe, in the UK, whether you're in America, whether you're in South America, the Caribbean, shout out, Jamaica and Trinidad and the St. Croix and Bahamas and all the people, right? And the ability to build bridges. And I've seen that what you're doing with not only your own personal and your families engaging the continent, but you're bringing tens of thousands of people along that journey by documenting it. And I know that's part of something that's very important to you as well, is finding ways to build those bridges. So as I go into now, I'm going to touch a little bit on your mindset that allows that to happen, because this is the African Mind series. But right before I do that, please give me a couple words on this Building Bridges initiative. And I was hesitating to say Building Bridges initiative because there's a Kenyan political debate now of what they call the Building Bridges and never BBI. So we're not pro or anti-Kenyan BBI. We are pro diaspora Africa BBI, Building Bridges initiative in that sense. So give me a sense of what are you thinking, feeling? Is it important? Is it necessary? Why should the diaspora connect with the continent? What's the value? Is it even relevant? Isn't that something of passé, long time ago? We are now modern. We are, universal global citizens. What do you need to connect? If you're black, it doesn't matter whether you're in America or whether you're in Africa. Give me a few thoughts on that.
Sure. Being brought up into a country from a Western mentality, being, how you're being breastfed, if you will, from someone other than your mother, that you take in a way of life that has brought you further away from your spirituality, from your so-called culture, from your way of being, is unnatural.
Wow.
That is a disease.
Wow.
Because of it's like roots being severed from roots being severed from the trunk. The trunk is eventually going to die. The tree is going to die without its roots.
Wow.
And so it's important to me, I think, being able to show the people in the diaspora where we actually originated from, who we are as a people. Because when you're raised in a household from someone other than you yourself, where you come from, you take on these ways, these mindsets, these beliefs, these views that really steal the originality of who you are. The identity is gone. And so you behave and you operate and you take on these fashions that they do. And before you actually realize what's happening, there's this slow death that happens.
Wow.
Because the discomfort you feel, the, that disconnect, there is no connection with them. You see that, the biases and the prejudice that exist against you. And so then my so-called initiative is to bring the information back to the people so the people can understand this is who we are, this is where we came from, this is certain ways of life and cultures, the belief systems, the spiritualities, this is who, this is us. And that right there was the birthing of the GoBlack2Africa. Because in America, many people will not believe, and I've said this with people, that we have gotten to a place that calling yourself an African is a shame. There are people who are ashamed to say that they are from Africa.
Wow.
There are those who don't even want to say that their skin comes from the all-natural blackness.
Wow.
And when I'm seeing this, because I've been around 54 years, and to hear this from those who are even in their 40s, who want to sever the ties, want to call themselves Americans, want to call themselves Democrats and Republicans, or all these titles that they have in America, it's really heartbreaking to me. So we got to change the narrative, and we have to show the real story.
I think your mic keeps moving,
Oh,
so
you're hearing some popping?
yeah, I think you'll cut that part. You know how to cut.
Well, I think the people that subscribe realize that we're still learning our editing skills. So just in case that part remains in there,
Okay, I'll be still.
it's
Yeah, or you can put it on the pocket.
Yeah, I can put it on my car in my pocket.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Wow, Mr. GoBlack2Africa, Nikome.
Yes.
What a deep philosophical observation, analysis, and evaluating the current situation of those in the diaspora. And when you use analogies such as a tree and a trunk and roots, and when the tree is severed from its roots, that it eventually dies. You talked about suckling at the breast of maybe a mother that's not your mother. Wow, I mean, you painted such a vivid, prolific 2020, even though that wasn't a great year, but vision-wise, very clear vision in terms of, you can say that conditions that those of African ancestry find themselves in the diaspora. So let me then ask this, and then you talked about those who may now proactively want to sever that themselves, right? So let me then ask, what is the antidote? What has been the remedy? What has been the formula, the blueprint that you have figured out psychologically, the 6 inches between your two ears, your African mind, because you do refer to yourself as an African.
Oh, yes.
Go back to Africa, right?
Yes.
So please give us a peep, an insight into the thinking of a person of African ancestry that has been maybe not born but bred for most of their lives in a foreign country or outside of the continent, that has allowed them to not only maintain those roots, but we do a little bit of farming. You have to put a little fertilizer on, natural organic fertilizer. There are always going to be pests and diseases that come. So I'm sure there have been pests and diseases that have tried to attack maybe, this idea of you connecting, with you mentioned the spiritual systems, you mentioned the customs, the forays, mores, right? And so I wanted to find out please share with us how you've been able to calibrate your psychological state, that you've maintained a certain sanity, that you can still see that there is a mother there and a Mama Africa there and those roots. Share it, because those that are watching, there will be several that will be watching that will be in the diaspora, and not everyone might have that mental fortitude, that psychological clarity. So they're sometimes looking for superheroes who are doing it. And that, by the way, that's why I think you're getting so much love, because so many in the diaspora are seeing the Africa that they know inherently that they're connected to in some way, but may not have had the wherewithal to have or whatever, whether it's finances, all the other restrictions and barriers. But through your eyes and through your lenses and through your camera, you're showing that. So let us know what has allowed you mentally and psychologically, your mindset, for you to do what you're doing. And I hope that wasn't too wide a question. You got the
yeah. Oh yeah. I contributed. Well, you know how life is that, you know, ideas just doesn't just sometimes just rain and fall in you. It's this little bit by little bit that builds you, pushes you, motivates and encourages you. You know, as you mentioned, like a seed. You just don't put a seed in the ground and just leave it to grow. You can if you so will, but it takes some watering, you know, the fertilizer. These are just building blocks that I would say that along I couldn't give you one answer, but along my lifetime of living and walking through to this day, I can't put my finger on what was that thing that opened my eyes, but I would say one of the big contributors were stepping foot on the continent. And that's what changed me totally, was landing on the ground, seeing for myself, smelling, touching for myself here in Mother Africa. That's why I try to share with people, you know, go black to Africa doesn't necessarily mean come here and move to Africa. Come just visit. If you come visit, I can almost bet my dollar that it's going to shake you, break you, and then make you.
Wow.
And you will leave Africa different than what you came. I can almost bet my last dollar on that one.
Wow.
And so this was my mindset when I got here, and I saw that, wow, man, I got to share this info, you know. I have to do something with this. And so I tell people the lens and the pictures just does not tell the story. It just tell a part of the story. You know, until you get here yourself, then you will be able to see. You know, when you watch cooking shows,
yes,
and you know, some of these guys have said, you know, oh, we need to have a smell-o-vision so you could smell the aromas of the food. Oh, if you could just understand what we are cooking, and you know, if you could just taste it. The food looks good, but until you could smell it, taste it, swallow it, digest it, you can never appreciate what you're seeing. You can never appreciate what you're seeing. So, me using the lens and telling the story,
okay,
I will call is just it's the real. It's throwing the line out there in the water.
Yes.
You know, hopefully that it will hook you. But you have a decision to make, and that is create a fight for the videos and the photos that I'm sending and the stories I'm sending. You can fight against it and try to shake the hook off,
yes,
or you can come in easily and visit and see the very things that you are missing.
Taste, smell it, experience for yourself.
You got to experience it for yourself. And so I know that is a very challenging thing for some people out there to do.
Okay.
But in saying that, you only do what you find important. You know, if it's not important to you, you won't come. And so my message to people is that my message is not for everybody. Only those who have an inkling of a thought, idea of Africa.
Yes.
That what I do is going to pique your interest.
Wow. No. You find time, money, resources for what you have. I always used to give this example, funny enough, that you can have a high school kid, say in America, right, with no job, no source of income, but they find a way to get $250 pairs of Air Jordans, right? Because there's a high value that they place on those sneakers.
Yeah.
So I think what you're trying to say, that once the value and the value proposition of what Africa has to offer in terms of being part of one's roots really comes into one's foresight, that you will find the ways, means, come rain, shine, or water, to touch these grounds.
Yeah.
And I think you're saying that
We need to. It's full, so we need to cut because it records for 29 minutes.
Yeah.
Pauses. So